The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by HotMovies.com. Try out some ethical, paid-for porn for free with none of those hidden fees or secret subscriptions when you sign up at HotMovies.com and use the promo code MANWHORE. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Ooh, I gotta call out all you condom dodgers, pull-out punks, and stealth scammers. Go fuck yourselves. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. I mean, just take care of your junk, people. I don't think that's too much to ask for. What's up? How you doing? Welcome to my show, where I am currently recording with no pants on. This week's guest is a fellow comedian and podcaster, Natasha Chandel. She's the host of the Kinda Dating podcast. Y'all should go check that out. And we got a whole lot more with her in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about a past show date, my Mishawaka, Indiana show I did a couple weeks ago. And there was a fan of the show. She came with her husband, and we got to talking before the show got started. And politics, of course, came up, as it does. And the husband was very quick to say that he's fiscally conservative, but socially liberal. I asked him when he actually gets to the ballot box, which one of those things takes priority to win his vote. He said, you know, he does usually vote Republican. He did vote for Donald Trump. And I asked him, what is a priority of yours that's more of a priority than the civil liberties of your fellow Americans? And he said his wallet. I very frequently on this podcast tried to express this concept of voting for other people, fighting for other people, people who are not like you. So I've never apparently shared this sentiment very eloquently. And then I watched Bernie Sanders. I watched his speech in Brooklyn online. Come on now. I'm not going to go get on the subway for a thing, but I will watch it. And at the end of his speech, he closed with this beautiful idea. And it's the same thing that I've been trying to say for quite some time. And I want to play the end of this Bernie Sanders speech because it really expresses the thing that apparently I can't say succinctly or as eloquently. So here is Democratic primary candidate Bernie Sanders.
Just take a look around. You're right here at this assembly of people. And if you look around you, what you will find that we have people here of every race, every gender identity. We have different religions. We have different ethnicities. We have men and women here. We have people who are young, and we have people who are old. We are a reflection of the diversity and the strength of the movement that we have built. And it is that movement, Black and white and Latino, Asian American, Native American, all of us coming together. It is that movement that is going to transform this country. I want you all to take a look around and find someone you don't know. Maybe somebody who doesn't look kind of like you. Maybe somebody who might be of a different religion than you. Maybe they come from a different country. My question now to you is, are you willing to fight for that person who you don't even know as much as you're willing to fight for yourself? Are you willing to stand together and fight for those people who are struggling economically in this country? Are you willing to fight for young people drowning in student debt, even if you are not? Are you willing to fight to ensure that every American has health care as a human right, even if you have good health care? Are you willing to fight for frightened immigrant neighbors, even if you are native born? Are you willing to fight for a future for generations of people who have not yet even been born, but are entitled to live on a planet that is healthy and habitable? Because if you are willing to do that, if you are willing to love, if you are willing to fight for a government of compassion and justice and decency, if you are willing to stand up to Trump's desire to divide us up, if you are prepared to stand up to the greed and corruption of the corporate elite, if you and millions of others are prepared to do that, there is no doubt in my mind that not only will we win this election, but together we will transform this country. Thank you all very much.
Now, Bernie Sanders isn't even my guy. That's not even like my, he's not my pick. He's not my he's not my bottom bitch in this primary. But the sentiment in that that clip is what I think you all should show your family who are not on board with identity politics. Show them this clip and ask them if they will fight for someone who is different from them. And sometimes fighting it can just be, I'm going to cast a vote I wouldn't normally cast because I recognize it will help others more than it will help myself. Just something for y'all to think on. Okay, kind of show dates right now, people. Show dates, right? Okay. November 11th at 8 p.m., I'm doing a show in New York City, but it's not stand-up. It's actually nothing I've really ever done before. It's very different from what I would normally do as a performance, but it's also like mildly embarrassing. So I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to give all the deets right now, but like if you want to see me perform at a fairly affordable show on November 11th at 8 p.m. in Midtown Manhattan, shoot me an email at manwhorepod@gmail.com and I will give you more information and tell you what it is, but I'd otherwise rather not say. Yeah. And you can shoot me an email with your comments, your questions, your booby pictures, your reactions to an episode, whatever you want. Again, the email address is manwhorepod@gmail.com. Okay, and now it's time for another installment of Sex in the Quad with Sophia the Intern. Some of y'all seem to enjoy hearing Sophia's voice and her make her little podcasting debut. We're so proud of her. This time she went around her campus talking to her fellow students about virginity. I'm going to let Sophia take it from there.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sex in the Quad with Sophia the Intern. I'm Sophia, and this week you're going to be hearing all the hottest takes about virginity from the fellow college students that I interviewed on my campus. When I was 16, I felt like virginity was just this horrible label that was placed onto me by society, and I just wanted to shed that. So what I did is, of course, like any rational, sane, level-headed 16-year-old, I hopped onto the app called Tinder and made myself a little profile. So this happened in China. I just want to say that because the age of consent in China operates a little bit differently, and nothing illegal happened. So just don't even worry about that. You're not my dad, you're not my mom. Thanks. For me, virginity was very much something that I just wanted to dispose of. I matched with this guy who was super hot on Tinder. His name was Jonas. He was a German college student living abroad in Beijing for the summer. I went back to his place and we started making out, talking, and then we started having sex. And it felt like very mechanical. Like for some reason at 16, I didn't realize that like the act of sticking a penis into a vagina literally felt just like a penis being stuck into a vagina, you know? Now you're about to hear a whole host of opinions about virginity from some of the fellow college students on my campus, so sit down, lay back. I hope you enjoy this segment. Thanks so much.
It seems to be something that's just like, oh, it's your first time, but everyone has a first time, and so it doesn't seem like something that we really should focus on.
Tell me your thoughts about virginity.
When I think of a virgin, I picture like someone in like a Roman toga.
I kind of wish that I was a virgin before I met my current girlfriend. Like when you meet the person you like love or whatever, then it means a lot more, and then you just want to take everything back because you knew it was meaningless because you didn't love that person.
No, I think sex is sex. I mean, certain people place too much weight on it. I feel like it's just something to do.
If you've had sex and if you have lots of sex, you're definitely like cooler, more important. Everyone wants to listen to you and talk about listen to you talk about, how you like conquered that girl or whatever.
Virginity is in a sense kind of like saving oneself for ideally who someone else's significant other is going to be. So in my mind, this is a form of sexual purity.
What constitutes losing your virginity? Like some people say like oral sex, for example. Some people mean like PIV.
Oh, I'm not familiar with PIVs.
This is why we need sex ed in schools, everybody.
I think whatever it is to you, for some people, maybe it's just penetration, but I think that's very limiting.
So do you think that there are different types of stigma for different types and groups of people?
Losing your virginity could get you labeled as like a slut or something like that, or a lack of that, you could end up as a prude. It's a hard line to walk without falling into one of those categories.
A lot of our view of sexuality, at least for women, is very skewed. A lot of it defines who you are, and maybe not in the best of ways.
I can't decide if it's more important for like men or women, because I feel like on like a woman's side, it's like it's supposed to be like more of a big deal, whereas on like the male side, it's like, oh, like you're still a virgin, like go have sex. So
I think like in popular media and that sort of thing, that guy who hasn't had sex is definitely gets made fun of, gets laughed at. If you haven't had sex, then you start to feel like maybe society values you less, or you're not as cool as people who do have sex.
The Northeast culture is just very, very different from the Southern culture, where everything's a little bit like, even if things are going down the same way that they are in the Northeast, like people don't talk about it in the same way that they do here.
I think the stigma is like, for different communities, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. So, for Christian or more conservative communities, it's, you're a slut if you've had sex. But for other communities, it's a prude if you haven't.
What was your upbringing like?
Both of my parents, I guess, are pretty like sex positive. My mom probably like talks about sex more than like a normal mom does.
I grew up in a really Christian community, and like my parents are super Christian, my brother is very Christian, and so like virginity and even sex, it's just like a very taboo kind of topic.
So my mom, for a little bit, was a sex educator in juvenile detention centers, and so I had that talk very early, and my family have always been very open about that, and so it's like me and my mom and my sister in my household. Also, that dynamic brought about very open experience for me as a male to have conversations about that, the lack of maybe a toxic masculinity element in the household atmosphere.
My friend John Mark and I, we've known each other for a very long time. So we were both at this party, and we were both very drunk, and we decided it would be interesting to try anal sex. We experimented, and we both enjoyed it a lot.
This has been Sex on the Quad with Sophia the Intern.
Aren't college kids precious? Aw. Good job, Sophia. All right, before we get to Natasha Chandel, it's time for the fan whore appreciation moment. Okay. This is the part of the podcast where I like to give a shout out to some of the members of my fan whore community on Patreon. Oh, we are growing so strong. We are almost at 200 members. Don't you think we can hit that? Well, it would only take 10 more of you at $2 pledged for us to hit 200 members. I think that'd be pretty cool. And you would get to join the likes of awesome people like Jared Morello, who is apparently he was once New Zealander of the Year. That sounds pretty cool. I'm glad you're a fan of the pod, dude. I want to give a shout out and thank you to Amy Taylor. Oh my gosh. She is gorgeous. She's also what she calls herself an exclusive private model, which is like my new favorite euphemism for that line of work. You go, girl. You're a babe. Thanks for supporting the pod. I want to give a shout out to Alex. Where'd you go? I miss you so. Your pledge lasted like a day or two, but I'm still thankful. But I also can't sing. And thank you to Chad Richards. Sorry I made you cry, buddy, with that 13 Reasons Why episode. But hey, you and me both, dude. Thanks for pledging. And you too can become a member and join nearly 200 like-minded listeners for as little as $2 per month. Become a member today by visiting patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And now for this week's guest, Natasha Chandel. She is the host of the Kinda Dating podcast. We met up while I was out in Los Angeles a couple months back, and I'm excited to finally share her episode with you. We talked about a whole slew of things. We talked about the dick pics or lack thereof. We talked about dating advice, safer sex practices, so much. Yeah, did you know lambskin condoms were expensive? Learning new things every day. Let's go Kinda Date with Natasha Chandel. Time to play Cast That Porn, brought to you by HotMovies.com. HotMovies.com is an amazing pay-per-minute porn site. It's both an ethical and affordable way to hashtag pay for some of your porn. So we're going to play a game called Cast That Porn, where I'm going to describe a scene in a porn flick that is currently available on HotMovies.com, and then I'm going to recast it with mainstream personalities that you might be aware of. So this week, we're, in light of the holiday season, we're going to be casting a very adult Wednesday Addams 3 from Burning Angel Entertainment, directed by Joanna Angel. And every scene actually in this porn stars a different porn star as Wednesday Addams. Kind of like when Heath Ledger died in the middle of shooting The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but Terry Gilliam, he decided to shoot the rest of the movie with Johnny Depp, Jude Law, and Colin Farrell playing versions of the same dude that Heath Ledger played, so that way he didn't have to reshoot the whole fucking thing. So I'm down with the artistic stylings of it. So this first scene shows one of the Wednesday Addams playing with some skulls, as you do. And then like an older woman, I think it's her roommate, she comes in inviting her out to karaoke to meet new people. And she's a pushy character who thinks she knows what's best for you, so let's just cast Alyssa Milano.
You have so much to offer. If I wanted to meet new people, I would astral project myself into the second circle of hell.
The dialogue in this movie is incredible. And so Wednesday stays in and she actually conjures a man into the room just so she can bang him. And by the way, the guy she has just conjured out of absolutely nothing, he's kind of a clueless but willing. He looks like he had a trust fund until nepotism got him a vague consulting job. And he's like generically pretty, but not so hot that he can be a household name. I'm just going to cast Matt LeBlanc. For my listeners born after 9/11, Matt LeBlanc was on a really bad show called Friends, and TV executives have been trying to make him happen for the last 15 years. He's kind of like the fetch of washed-up TV actors. Okay, and and this Wednesday chick, by the way, she's like an innocent Wednesday Addams, as much as she keeps shouting to ram the cock inside her. She's mildly innocent looking. Like she might feel sorry after lighting your cat on fire. It's that kind of sadistic, innocent, oh God, he's going to choke her with her own pigtails. Anyways, when a porn star is gagging on a cock, I like to see some sincerity in your eyes, so I'm going to cast the blonde chick from Riverdale. I feel like we could dye her hair black and she'd make for a great Wednesday. Oh, and I guess I need 3 more people to play the dark, twisted, and incredibly kinky Wednesday Addams, right? You know, this is an art film. So I don't know, I guess I'm gonna fill in the other scenes with Zendaya, anyone who's ever played Rizzo from Grease, and let's go with Miley Cyrus. And that's Cast That Porn, brought to you by hotmovies.com. You can get 20 free minutes on top of any package you sign up for, including the free trial, when you sign up at hotmovies.com and use promo code MANWHORE at checkout. One more time, that's promo code MANWHORE at hotmovies.com. And now let's get to the show. Natasha Chandel.
Hello.
Host of the podcast Kinda Dating.
Yes, that is me.
Now, before we were talking, before we turned the mics on, you were saying that you don't get dick pics like on the regular.
Never get dick pics. I'm like, what the fuck?
I think you phrase it a dating influencer.
Yes.
I was like, I saw that and I was like, am I supposed to be calling myself
I
that?
know.
I was like,
I just
have I been doing this wrong?
You know why? It's because I don't like being called an expert, and they always say you're a dating expert. And my thing is just, I don't believe anybody's an expert, even like half of these coaches and stuff. I'm like, oh, really? You're a fucking expert.
Especially
like, you
in
read
the realm
it
of dating.
Yeah,
like, this
I'm
isn't
just like,
science.
Nobody is. And so I just don't like the connotations of that, or somebody being like, well, you know the answer. I'm like, there is no answer. If there was an answer, somebody would have figured it out by now and
made so much money.
So much money.
Right. It's like, no, but there is an answer for you, specific to you.
Yes.
But there's no overriding cheat code.
So I say influencer because I'm experienced and I have, decent head on my shoulders, so I can kind of give you like 2 cents that hopefully makes like kind of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so as a not only just like a woman on the internet, but like someone who talks about sex and dating on the internet and getting no dick pics, I was like so shocked because like I get dick pics.
Yeah, it surprises people on apps, on social media. I've gotten 2 dick pics ever. One was from an ex, and so that was, though I didn't solicit it, but it was cool because he had a giant cock, so I was like, that's awesome.
This is an aesthetically pleasing dick, and I'm familiar with it. I know it does good work.
Oh, okay, yeah. The other one was just like this kid who picked me up at a bar, and I didn't want to talk to him. My friends were like, dude, stop being like, just fucking talk to him. I was like, man, he's younger than me. I don't want to. They're like, and then, of course, exactly, he did what I thought he would do as a fucking child, not a child, guys. He was 20 something.
He's immature.
Yeah. And early 20s. And he sent me it wasn't even a dick pic. It was like just like an erect dick through his boxer briefs. Oh. And I was like, okay. And I just literally, I looked at it and I threw my phone from my hand. I was like, you're a baby. Get away from me. I was like, and I just told him, I was like, please don't do that.
I'm just shocked that there's none of, especially on the social media, because that's like the number one complaint I hear from what kind of
all
vibe.
my girlfriends, it's so funny because like I have girlfriends who have like 200 followers on Instagram, and they're like, some guy followed me and sent me a dick pic. I'm like, I'm not saying, I have a decent following. Never. 85% men, according to my insights, and never have gotten one, and on apps have never gotten one. But I also think it's because, and I've sort of called my girlfriends out, because my girlfriends always say, like, they're mad that they get dick pics, and they're like, what the fuck, man? Like, this guy just suddenly sent me a dick pic on an app. It's so rude. And I always say, like, it's how you present yourself to a guy.
Yeah, so like, how uptight is your presentation on Tinder?
Exactly.
That's my question.
So, well, I'm not on Tinder, but when somebody hits me up, because I just don't want that from a fucking stranger. I'm like, dude, leave something to and here's the truth, okay? Here's the fucking truth to dudes. Your dicks are not that attractive. It's not like I know they are. I know you get requested a lot.
Not mine.
Like,
I don't think mine is.
No. I just mean like girls in general. We have so many discussions about this, and we're like, man, like, why do guys send dick pics? Like, it's really not that like an aesthetically pleasing part of the body. We're just like it's a practical use thing, and it's not a pretty Even a fucking cunt that way. I'm like, man, really, guys? Like boobs, I get.
Boobs, I get.
Butt, I get.
Pussies, it's gonna have to have character because I'll put it this way. I feel like a vulva is
what's
way
a character
hotter
for you?
I don't know, like something going. I prefer it attached to a person, but when it's like that up close
Do you
shot,
like
not
lips,
as much for
no
me.
lip, like less lips? What are we thinking?
I
Dark
like it
light, what
zoomed out. I like it to be. If I want it zoomed in, like I'd rather just actually be in my face, not on my phone. Otherwise, I want to see you. Like when.
That I get. That's what I'm saying. So like that.
When people try to
makes
send me
sense.
nudes on like Reddit or any sort of whatever site before we're actually going to meet up, they'll be like, "Oh, you want to see some nudes?" I'm like, I'd really rather see a G-rated full body shot of you. Like that's what I want to see. We'll work our way through the
That I
disrobing
agree.
later.
I feel like women's bodies are attractive to look at. So like, I get that part. The actual pussy itself, I'm like, I just don't. Like even for a guy, like I think a whole picture is more like, oh, okay, you can envision something with it. But just this one thing, I'm like, man, like there's nothing. Like I've already had a few of these. Like this isn't some like mind blowing thing. At that point, I'm like, I'd rather you fuck me than send me a fucking picture, you know, of it. But that's just me. And
so you don't want basically you're in an ideal scenario. You're not getting the dick pics. You don't want the
I
dick
don't want
pics.
them either. So this is definitely my like, hey guys, if you follow me now, do not send me.
Do not use that as an
But
excuse
I'm
to send
just saying,
to her
but
or
I do
anyone.
joke about it where I'm like, man, why not? Because even on my Instagram, I told you the story that I posted a picture recently where I was topless, but I was covered with my arm, and I had jeans on, and it got shared by a influencer in India who is known to have a very sexy account. She has like 500,000, whatever.
Yeah.
She shared on her stories and for some reason said, follow this cutie. And I was like, oh shit. And so like overnight got like 6,000 something followers, all from India.
Right.
Dudes. And my friends were like, get ready because you are gonna get dick pics on end.
Drowning.
Nothing. I got all these like very polite, hi ma'am, you are so, I mean, I got the like, you are so, you know, you're so hot, take your shirt off.
Are these like
a couple of
these foreign?
Yeah, like all
foreign
guys
accounts
from
because they're all
India.
following an India account.
But they're usually the ones that send a lot of explicit kind of pictures and stuff and like nothing. So I was just like, hey man, like one guy he had a fan account. So he was very like, do you have any bikini pictures? Do you have anything with more cleavage?
Yeah.
And I think when I just stopped responding when he said that, he immediately himself like an hour later was like, I'm very sorry, ma'am. I should never have talked to you that way.
You got
blah,
grandma
blah, blah.
vibes.
And I was just
They're all
like totally. I was like, that's cool, man. Like, I'll talk to you and it's like half decent or respectful, but when it goes like a vibe, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to.
I want to I want to go and take another look at like all your socials and get an idea of like what is this presence? Because honestly,
you know what it is?
maybe
It's grammar. I have a thing. I tell people, I'm like, when somebody says, "How are you?" Right? I'm well, comma, thanks. Period.
Yeah.
Like, but when you use the word "well," I'm like, that already tells you you're talking to somebody with like half a brain. Because I'm sorry, that's just proper grammar. If
Right.
somebody says, "I'm good," you're like, oh, you don't know what you're doing.
You know what's funny about those like Indian accounts are just like those general like whether it's like Middle Eastern Indian accounts, like I get random messages from them too.
Oh yeah.
Now sometimes they say like, "Hey, take your shirt off," because they think I'm a chick because they saw a different photo of mine of someone else. But I get a lot of messages from like random foreign dudes who saw a promo image for like one of my porn star guests.
Yeah.
And they are begging me for the contact info of these porn stars.
Like that's my Instagram.
So
I
this
feel
is-
like there are some
If I may.
like decent pictures in there, but I get nothing ever.
But just the idea is like wholesome emojis. I am shocked. I think you need to solve the mystery and then
and
teach
this is,
women
this
how to
is
put
the
off the
picture.
same vibe.
This is the picture, and you know, I mean, it got a lot of. There were a couple in this one. Actually, they lectured me. The ones who followed me also lectured me that I was an Indian girl and I took a nude, and I was like, it's not really a nude. My fucking arm was covered. I was like, I'm more nude in a bikini than I am
Right.
in this, but. I don't know. I just don't get them.
Yeah, that's why you got all the most puritanical, like Indian.
And yet I
new
get shit on.
followers.
It's so funny because yet I get shit on by regular people, like whatever. My regular friends who are like, my account is so sexy, and I'm like, there's no winning. Because like in the sexy world, in the real sexy world,
you weren't born
I'm
with a
like
cock.
a grandma.
You were not supposed to win.
Yeah.
That is.
I was like, geez, can't beat him.
Do you get an influx of dick pics when you're dating?
No,
just
No.
just to follow you around for 48 hours and then
it's crazy.
Like I said, I think you need.
But I do have a thing. Maybe it's because I do tell people this is so anti you, but I am very cool with my friends doing whatever the fuck they want, like sext away, do whatever.
Sure.
I have a rule that I don't. In pictures
For sexting, yeah.
I'm cool with like texting, like sexting,
It's
like
not anti-me.
talking.
I don't like to
no,
do it either.
I'm just saying, like if it was even like a fucking FaceTime or something, that I'm still okay with, but a picture, I'm very not, because I also have a thing. It's a little egoic, but I'm like, bitch, you should remember me. I'm like, you should know what this shit looks like.
It's 2019. We don't remember anything.
I don't give a fuck then.
Wow.
I'm like,
holding
you
a high
gotta-
bar, high standard.
A little bit.
Yeah. So then,
Gotta.
what other high standards do you have to date you?
There are none. There's no high
That's the
standards.
only one?
My
Just
thing
like,
is, my
don't
thing is
send me dick
no,
pics,
my
don't
thing is
expect any.
respectful. Like you
Okay.
got to be respectful
Sure.
with me. Which doesn't mean like speak properly or so. It just means treat me like a nice person. If somebody says like you should do this with me, I'm very like, oh, I should do a lot of things. Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Like, because then I will go out with you. But if you're like, you should come with me to a bar today, I'm like, like I should do a lot.
Yeah.
So like that kind of stuff where it just comes off like very insecure versus just be a fucking nice dude, man.
And it sounds like, and I know there are women who are not innocent of that either, but
Totally.
it's not like, it sounds like we might be nitpicking on language of like using, because sometimes requests like that, we're talking 1 or 2 word difference from that vibe to like a super respectful, giving you agency vibe. So it sounds nitpicky, but it's like actually a big deal because someone says to me like, hey, you should come over right now, and we've never spoken. Start with like, hi, hello, I love your Instagram account, or I listen to your podcast, or like we went to class together. At least give us a context for who's trying to make such a demand.
Well, here's the thing. I have learned the hard way.
Uh-huh.
I used to be the cool, like we did an episode on the podcast on cool girl syndrome where it's like, I used to play totally cool when a guy said, you should meet me at a bar tonight. I was like, okay. Cause I was insecure myself at the time, and I was like, oh, I just want to go out with him. So okay, so I would drop what I was doing and I would meet him at a bar. If he said it's 10 o'clock, like you should meet, okay. And now when I did that, I realized those people weren't respecting me, and they never treated me properly in the relationship. The people who did were the ones who spoke to me like they would speak to somebody they actually wanted to be with. And so like, one thing I talk a lot about is like, guys, I've grown up with boys my whole life. Y'all put girls in categories right away. I put guys in category. I'm like, nah, this is just a flex. This is potential. The flex, I don't give
Flex
a fuck
starter.
what I'm like, whatever, man. Like,
It's
I
a
don't
fancy football lineup.
Kinda. I'm like, hey man, like I don't need to worry about how this fucking shit comes off.
Right.
The potential, you put your best foot forward. You're like, this might lead somewhere. So I want him to see properly.
You
the person
categorize
that-
where the potential for that connection could go,
Yeah.
and then you treat them accordingly.
and guys do the same thing. And that's why they talk about like the girl you're gonna fuck versus the girl that's like a wife material, and or the weekday girl, the weekend girl, like whatever you want to call it. And for me, I'm like, I don't believe in marriage, but I want to be in a relationship. So when I date somebody, I now am a little bit more like, oh, well, like, will you correct yourself with that? If like, I don't make it like a angry thing. That's I'll never come up to somebody and be like, oh, well, I should do something and make it a fight. I just make it like a gentle little like, oh, yeah, I should do a lot of stuff. Are you asking? And I put a smiley face, and then,
I mean, like the best, like it's such a subtle difference between like, you should come out right now to like, hey, I'm at this bar. Like, it'd be cool to see you. Like, you
Yes.
free? You want to come out? Want to join us?
Yes.
Like, it's that much of a difference.
That's exactly it. Or just like asking somebody, and like, yeah, I have a thing about don't tell people what to do. Like, just, you know, present them as, even for me, like if I'm really into a guy and I'm out with my girlfriends, I'll be like, hey, you know, not sure what you're doing right now. I'm at this bar. If you free up, you know, would love to see you if you're around. Like,
and I understand where some of it comes from. Like, some of it can just be excitement, and then you're not thinking because you're so excited. Some of it comes from entitlement attitudes and all that bullshit. But like, just like in anything, when we're super excited about someone, it's like, let's all take a deep breath before we send something we can't unsend. Unless it's an Instagram DM, which I learned apparently you can unsend, and that's terrifying.
oh yeah, you can.
I
You
had
can
no
unsend.
idea.
And on WhatsApp, you can unsend
I
or
don't-
delete.
I don't fucks with the WhatsApp. I don't fuck enough international chicks for that, I think.
I have a lot of WhatsApp.
A lot of WhatsApp. Well, you're
Yeah.
Canadian, right?
Yeah, I have friends from all over. So
Well, what's are you like vaguely in my age range, like maybe
know what-
30s, late 20s,
Yes,
something
yeah,
like this?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So like what? So we grew up like similar time periods. Like, what was dating life like in Canada?
in Canada,
Like, is there like a dating cultural difference at all?
you know, it's because I was always in serious relationships when I was in Canada. So, but my girlfriends now complain like a motherfucker to me about how hard it is out there, which to me probably like it makes me laugh because I still feel like Canadian guys are the nicest ever. I'm like, I actually feel ugly when I go to Canada because in New York, you're so used to like you'll stand on the corner of a curb in wherever and guys are hollering at you all the time. They're like gorgeous. God bless you, whatever. I come to Canada and I'm standing in like a nice dress, like at a club or a lounge.
It's
Nothing.
like they look down, they're like,
Guys
"Oh,
like,
hello,
well,
ma'am.
yeah, they just
I hope you have a
don't come
pleasant
up to
evening."
you. Yeah, they just don't.
Yeah.
But now it's a little different. I feel like now people are a little bit more. There's a little bit more of a pickup culture and all that shit. But I still think it's more polite than here.
Yeah.
But my girlfriends complain.
Okay.
They say it's not a lot of people who want to get in relationships, but everybody I know is in a relationship in Canada. So I don't know.
So you have this show, Kinda Dating.
Yep.
Over 100 episodes. Mazel. Very
God,
fun.
it's a lot.
So many.
My most committed relationship.
Your most committed relationship. Oh yeah, I like to think of this as my most steady job I've ever had.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like it's pretty wild. And so, did anything? Were you already the type like before when I walked in the door, you were giving dating advice?
Oh my god.
To a friend on the phone. Have you always been that person? Did that increase? I found that when I started doing the podcast and talking openly about things like non-monogamy or sex parties or whatever, I started getting those questions privately from comics. Then be like, oh, like we're thinking about opening up a relationship. What do you think? And I'll be like, oh, like we've never spoken before outside of an open mic. Maybe like, you know, so were you always that person or did that increase when you started the show?
I mean, it definitely increased after the show, but I was always that person. And I think it was also just because I had so many
no dick pic vibe.
I know.
I think
no, it's because I've had so many dating
Auntie
stories,
Natasha.
and I've dated every type of person. Like I've dated the, you know, I've been in like the 4-year relationship. I've been with the one night stand. I've been with the PhD, and I've been with the guy who didn't graduate high school. I've been with the jock. I've been with the drug addict. I've been with the sex addict. I've been with the, you know, like every type of person, your coworker to, you know,
Sure.
I've just literally dated so much that there just came a point that I sort of became the story person, but also the person who learned from it. So everybody kind of came to me. And the podcast, like the perspective I kind of bring is like I was a hardcore relationship girl who got in an abusive relationship and then became the hardcore commitment phobe. So I was like, oh, can't beat him, join him. And then I went the other way for 5.5 years, and I would just like be like, hey man, I just wanted to flex. I was like, dude, you do you, I do me. I don't need to know what you're doing. Don't ask me what I'm doing. Fuck off. Like let's hang out. I don't need to text you all day. Like, and inevitably, no matter what, they would always come back and be like, well, will you be my girlfriend? I'm like, dude, I said on date 1, I didn't want to be your girlfriend, and this wasn't reverse
Yeah,
psychology.
I dated a lot of y'all in my early 20s.
Yeah. And
I started this thing because the women wouldn't date me, but they would Flex me? Is that what you call flex? What's that?
Yeah, it's a Canadian term. We
It's
call
a
it
Canadian
flex.
term?
Yeah.
That's such an aggressive term for the Canucks, you know?
A flexible relationship.
Okay.
Where you're just like, oh, you're just flexing.
So, I mean, and don't you dare say you're just smack in the middle now, but like
No.
you, from one side of the pendulum to the other now, where do you find yourself lying?
Now I say I'm a reformed commitment phobe, which does mean like I do have a tendency to want to just be free, but I want to be in a committed relationship.
Committed relationship. Yeah. Does non-monogamy appeal to you because it combines both freedom and commitment?
No. I'm not good at sharing. That's
Not
the
good at
problem.
sharing.
I know myself so well. I kind of am like, oh, would I love the idea? I'm like, not really, because like it's more me. It's more like I would be annoyed if somebody else were with somebody else. So I'm like, I just know it's not my personality. But I don't believe in marriage, and everybody confuses that. They're like, so you don't believe in marriage, so you just want an open relationship. I'm like, motherfucker, it just means I don't believe in a ritual of some fucking piece of paper. I just want to be with one person.
Don't these
But, like-
assumptions just suck? How about you just ask me
Exactly.
what not wanting to get married
Yeah.
means?
Then people like lecture me all the time about it. They're like, really? So you don't blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, don't equate the wrong
All I
thing.
give you is one piece of information.
Yeah.
Does not give you now 10 new pieces of
Yeah.
information that you didn't even ask about.
Yeah.
In a similar vein, I don't like when people assume poly means not serious. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, so you're not into serious dating? I was like, yeah, that's literally what that's about. It's about I like to seriously date people. I like emotions and feelings, but I also believe I can do that with more than one person at a time.
Totally.
But if they would just ask, but like instead, it's similar. It's it sounds like we're nitpicking language, but it matters. It's like the difference between saying, oh, so you're not serious to, oh, what does that mean for you? I'm not familiar with that topic. I haven't met someone who's not into marriage before because I grew up in Oklahoma. Please tell me what is your ideal relationship look like? But everyone just wants to make fucking assumptions and talk shit.
Yeah, I mean the poly thing for sure. I get a lot too because I say I don't believe in marriage. People are like, "So you're poly," and I'm like, "Whoa, where does that go?" Like I'm not. And I have friends who are.
You're looking
in,
back like, did I say that? Where?
Yeah, I was like, I have friends who are in poly relationships. We've done episodes on it. I respect the lifestyle. I respect everybody's lifestyle. I'm like, I don't care. I'm just saying this is what works for me. I'm not saying that and I'm married to anything in stone. It's just this is my preference. If I got to pick myself, it would be this. But I also am very aware that like with poly relationship, I'm like, man, I am so fucking like I can barely get back to one person.
Yeah.
I would not have the fucking mental energy to get back to multiple people. Even if I connected, I'd be like, I just don't have the time.
Yeah. I mean,
so I just know that about me.
You're a hardworking,
Yeah.
professional writer. Hey,
No,
here in sunny Los Angeles, working in entertainment, you're busy. I get it. I'm only just now starting to realize, like, oh, I got to deprioritize some of this. So,
Yeah,
Too
totally.
many-
I mean, that's what I had to kind of do to just get work off the ground too. Is I had to just chill on the dating thing. I've never like really pushed the dating thing, but it, in life it just happens, and that's great.
When you look the way you do, dating does kind of come to you.
know?
That is like some of
Yep.
us have to start a podcast.
Oh, please.
Sorry. Some of us just had to be out there.
I just scare the shit out of people regardless. So I don't get as many dates as people think. I'm like, I scare them in life. I scare them in text. So it's the grandma vibe, like we said.
But now you mentioned also, like, I think off mic you said something about like people field you BDSM offers, but you're not into BDSM.
No, I'm not saying I'm not into it. Actually, I've just never. So I matched with somebody before. So I'm not in an app now, but I was on Hinge for a little bit, and then I matched with this really cute guy, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And he said, "Hey, I have a really important question." Like his third text to me, and I was like, "Okay." And I'm preparing for. Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? Because he said he was a little older, so I was like, "Okay." And he goes, are you into BDSM? Because I really am. And it's a very important thing to me. So at that point I was like, oh shit, I think he's not. So I said to him, I was like, well, I'm definitely open to something. I'm just not sure it'll be at your level. Like I'm definitely open to some stuff. I know that there might be some stuff I'm probably not, but so I just didn't, and I felt like on a third text, I didn't feel comfortable enough really asking him what level he's at. So I was like, you already made it awkward. Like, but I also understand why he felt like he needed to ask that. So there was like no right answer for it in a way. Like I kind of got his point where he probably has done this a lot, and then a week into talking to somebody, he'll drop it and then it fucks them up. But I also think like maybe, I don't know, just wait like a little bit more or lead into it.
Yeah. It's like this
Or
isn't FetLife.
explain what
Like
he's
it's
into,
not the...
so it's not like the other person asking you. I don't know. I don't know what the answer would have been, but I felt like I wasn't going to ask.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Well, I brought that up to ask, like, since doing the podcast, are you like learning about new topics you didn't know about before? Like, were you super versed in poly before the show, or did you learn more about it like through the course of the show?
I've definitely learned more for sure. I learned about poly because I was working on a show called Utopia on Fox, and there was a polyamorous participant that we had who's pretty famous in the poly world, Dedeker Winston.
Dedeker Winston, of course, multi-amory.
So Dedeker, yes. So she was on it, and so we were exposed
to this
world, and then she's been on the podcast, and then I've had other people. I think there are definitely new things like asexuality. I never even really considered it, which is silly, but I was like, oh fuck, there are people who don't feel like this is something they need, or like the levels of BDSM, like stuff I didn't. Your mind just goes to pop culture references of something, right? Not
which are like not always the kindest.
Exactly.
And so.
Yeah. So or just like things that there's a lot that I haven't known about, or people's struggles. Like I get a lot of messages from people who are disabled, actually, who say like, we love an episode on dating as a disabled person. And I was like, oh fuck, didn't think that what would their struggle be like going through something like this, and what's the right way to approach it, taking the able-bodied person into consideration also as the person who's disabled. So it's interesting.
There's so much, or even it's like we don't even know what we don't know. Like I don't know if you've even thought about people who have unrealizable sexual fantasies.
Yes.
Like you think about the vor people. Mm-hmm. Now that vor person to be
wait, what's vor? See, I don't know this.
Yeah, it's just it's just. Do you ever see Saw? Or like it's like, or Hostel.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Saw.
You remember Queen of the Damned where they're pulling out the intestines, maybe? So people are like turned on by that.
Isn't that like isn't there something called like snuff porn and stuff? Like
snuff porn doesn't actually exist according to the FBI, but like but that's the concept that exists. But the FBI apparently actively looks for this and have yet to found an actual case. They're usually always like deep fakes or
Canada,
well produced.
like I did an abnormal psych class and we were.
People are into that, but the idea is that they haven't been able to find authentic videos. But just the idea,
because it'd be considered murder.
Oh yeah, it'd be 100% murder. Now there is a case in, I think it was Germany, like in this last 10 or 20 years, where like the one guy found the other guy and they agreed like to cut off. Oh my god, they cut off the dude's penis, cooked it. They both ate it together. Then they killed then the two of them killed this one. The guy kills this other guy and then eats the rest of them. And then that guy, goes to murder. But not snuff porn because they never taped it. They missed out on a unique marketing opportunity. They'd be like, we could corner the market with snuff porn.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was a real thing. That guy's still in jail.
Thank God.
That was wild. But you think about it, the guy who's like saying, I need to have my dick cut off and eaten and fed to me to feel 100% sexually satisfied. Have you ever felt in your life during an altercation, maybe like some really good sex, have you ever felt you left it going like, I am 100% satisfied by what happened? Maybe not often.
Yeah.
I hear there's an orgasm gap.
Yeah,
or something,
yeah. There have been times for sure.
Someone needs that to happen to feel that. Wow. And that kind of saddens me because I'm like, you're like just never gonna be satisfied fully.
Well, also that's definitely like, let's keep it real. That's a much deeper thing.
Yeah, or people who like to pretend to be centaurs. Just the idea of like, there are things where I'm like, you'll never get to fuck as a centaur. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for you that you don't get to do that.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like some part of the definitely that we have been wanting to do a fantasy versus IRL episode for a long time. And it's kind of like definitely that video games, porn, all this stuff creates this world of fantasy that like so many people are not feeling satisfied anymore.
Mm.
But to me, that kind of comes down to a deeper issue of unsatisfaction in other things that you're seeking from this part of your life that's probably just not coming from something else in your life.
Well, we also want to be careful, like, not to take a fetish and consider it trauma or lack of something. I mean, definitely that's going to exist in some cases.
Fetish is different.
Right, but that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like a vor guy like that, like
Yeah.
that's an actual, that's a fetish. That's a,
Yeah.
that for that person, it's sexual.
But a fetish is like an additional thing.
Common misconception, at least my understanding, has been like, and I'm still working on how I do this on stage, so this is not going to be that funny, but it's the only thing I've thought of so far, is that like a kink is like a Settlers of Catan expansion pack. You don't need it to play the game. It makes it a lot more fun, whatever. But a fetish is the dice. Like without the dice, you can't play Settlers of Catan. It's just it's not going to be fun for you.
Got it.
And so the fetish is like that deep need.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it makes me sad. But then it's like, I think that's where VR porn and all this, like in video games and stuff like that, I think are going to open up opportunities to fulfill the things.
At least mentally.
Yeah, at least mentally. Which can get close. I tried to do that with a chick from Bumble once.
Really? What did
she
you do?
was into vor.
Oh.
And then
what's like that? Like what specific type?
She sent me some links to the type of porn that turns her on. She's like, this is honestly the only type of thing that gets me wet. And it's like, I guess some like semi-famous, like I forget if it's called like Mookie's Kitchen, something like that. And it's like these drawings of like people cooking and roasting or eating other people, or like preparing a dish. Like a woman hogtied on a stick with an apple in her mouth being like roasted over a fire. And I used to always joke on the vor people and say that's too far.
Did they die?
I mean, these are cartoons that she sent me.
Oh God!
Yeah, no, these are all. It's like it's like a blog.
What a person is being. I was like,
No.
what is this, Queen of the South?
Right. But these are depictions of that. She's like, she's like, I don't even like sex, to be honest. Like, this is the only thing that gets me off. And then she was so hot, like you would never expect. She's like, L.A. super hot chick, and I go like, I mean, do you want to cover me in butter? Like, how can we make this happen? Like, I'm still interested. I'll be flexible here.
Yeah.
It was just wild where I was like, you know what? Like, I would never consider that until I was like, well, you're pretty.
Yeah, and then what? So then what did you do?
She ended up trailing off a bit.
Okay.
But I was just like, I got accidentally invested in this. I was like, no, we can
figure this out.
You can just give me a hand job. You don't have to be into it. Just like you'll get the satisfaction of me in butter and preparing me, and then you don't actually eat me, and then like I get off, and then but
Yeah, but she was, but see, like she wasn't even really into the sex part. She was just into these images.
Right. So when she meets up with people, I was trying to figure out a way that we could like semi-actualize her fantasy.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah. So do you consider yourself fairly vanilla, fairly mainstreamy?
Probably more on the mainstream. I mean, I have definitely like done some fun stuff.
I'm sure.
But I wouldn't go like I don't think I would I don't know what the right term is, because I don't want to say like something not usual, because I'm like, what the fuck is usual and not usual, you know? But yeah, I guess I would say maybe more mainstream.
Sure.
Let's just say that. That's the safer.
That's the
safe word here.
Safe word? Oh, now we're going into a kinkier
I
territory.
know, right?
With
Exactly.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like I love playing. I love like some domination and stuff like that. I just don't like anything when it goes too extreme, or like I'm gonna get hurt. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, you're not like.
I just want the pleasure part, not the hurt part.
Yeah, I'm not a pain slut.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I'm very subby. I like it psychological.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want you to actually hurt me.
I love and I'm still open to like trying things out. I've just nothing painful.
Sure. For sure.
Like I've been like the choking thing, which is like cool. Like I like being choked a little, but like one guy like choked, and I was like, all right, buddy. Like,
okay.
I don't want to die.
Tap out.
Yeah. I was like, this is like a wrestling match. Suddenly, I'm like, tap out.
I'm also finding out that I'm just like bad at that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I learned, I was with an ex of mine, and I was like spanking her, And I thought, and she likes to get spanked, so I would like spank
Yeah.
her regularly. And then one time, like on my birthday, she had like a friend over, and like that friend's partner were just kind of hanging around. And then they started like soft playing together, like some BDSM, and like me and the guy were just watching. And then her friend said, do you want to learn how to spank her? I'm like, sure, because the chick's like a professional dominatrix, getting like free lessons. So she starts spanking her the exact way I spank, and I'm like, oh, sick, I got this down, I know what I'm doing. And then after like a minute or so of that, she looks at me and she's like, okay, cool, so those are warm-up spanks, they prepare the ass to be spanked. I was like, fuck, my spanks are warm-up spanks.
Oh shit.
Oh no, I gotta get better at this.
That's
or like
funny.
the chick I'm dating now like taught me, I thought I was choking the right way the whole time.
Mhm.
She's like, no, you have to choke this way. And I was like, wait, have I been accidentally almost murdering people in bed for years? Shit.
And girls don't say, a lot of girls don't say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't correct that dude. But then I also was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to be choked.
You didn't correct the dude who was choking you too
Yeah,
hard?
well, I mean, I told him to tap out. I was like, hey, buddy, like,
Sure.
let's chill out a little. But I didn't tell him after. I was like, this is an awkward fucking conversation. Because, like, I also didn't expect him to do that. I didn't ask him to fucking choke me. He just started choking me. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, but it's also your bodily safety. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
why
yeah.
do you think you're not speaking
No,
up?
I mean, I was younger. I was so young
Sure.
at the time. So, like, I wasn't going to say anything. Now I would probably fucking say something.
Uh-huh.
And this is why I always say, like, even on the podcast, like, younger girls don't say as much because they're trying to play cool girl. Like, I was like, oh, just play cool. And, like, you were fine with this. Like, or you've been used to this. And then I was like, I wasn't.
Or
That
if
shit
I
hurt.
do this, I'll get this other relationshipy
Yes.
thing I want.
Yeah. You're like, oh, just play cool. And that'll lead to, he'll be like, she's a cool girl. And I want to be with the cool girl. And I'm
Mhm.
like, nobody does that.
So what was an inflection point for you when you started kind of advocating for yourself in the bedroom more?
It was probably, let's see, it was, this is a really good question. I'm trying to see if there was like a specific time that after that guy, I kind of remember saying more like, hey, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. Or, but in like a nicer way. I'm still not like a very demanding type of, like, I'll like coax the guy into something, I'm like, oh, this way, try it this way,
Right.
would get me this.
Yeah.
So it's not like like you see in the movies, like some women are like, no, up, no, here, touch it, and like,
What movies are you watching?
like in fucking whatever movies. Like I feel like you always see like when there's like an empowered woman and she's just telling the guy what to do, and I'm like, I don't know if that.
You want to try to still keep the vibe.
Yeah, I want him
sexy.
to feel like he's like still.
I wonder,
you
was
know.
the choking guy, that guy, was that the
He
only?
he was a financial analyst who was on Adderall, so it was not it was like getting fucked by a bunny rabbit. It was like I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
But he was so hot, and I was like, all right, man, I'll fucking stick this out.
So
But
yeah, do you allow bad sex from hotter people? Like
Yeah.
the hotter you are, the worse you can be at sex.
yeah,
Oh, that's
but
so
it's
sad.
it's true, but
There are some trolls who will fuck
but
you
I
so
won't-
much better
I
than
know,
the hot finance
but
guy.
I'm saying that like I would never consider them for like a real relationship, but I'll fuck them
Yeah.
because like they're still hot.
Now, with them, but if the sex is bad and you're like, he's the only thing he's bringing to the table for the most part is he's hot.
Yeah.
What do you get from that?
I mean, it's not like the sex is horrible. I'm not saying like it's just not as like a girl's not really gonna feel much when she's getting fucking jackhammered
With nothing else going
but then
on,
there's
yeah.
like other times that we were together that he wasn't like fully jackhammering me. It was just fast, and I was like, ugh, okay, But I mean, you still turned on because
Yeah.
you're still attracted to the person. So there's definitely that. But yeah, I mean, girls are as vain as guys. You guys will fuck a girl just because she's hot.
Yes and no. I don't know. I like to think that is the thing
You said that this bitch was like hot, and so you were willing to try to put fucking butter on yourself.
because it would be an interesting scene, and I love a good scene. Do you get this with with having the podcast? You go on dates and you sit down and they start with just like, so I listened to the podcast.
Yeah, actually, I get because I'm a woman. I get the. So you're it's such insecure dudes. Like this is how I also weed people out now. Like I don't hide that I have a podcast.
Sure.
But my podcast is not about my day-to-day life, and it's not about me in real time. It's stories that have come up as a way to get like my guests open up as a way of that too. But I never talk about somebody by their first name. I never say anything in real time. So when a guy comes to me and without knowing what the podcast is, which is a simple fucking Google search, which shows me your fucking mental capacity, is like, he'll say, oh, so you have a dating podcast, so you're going to talk about me?
Yeah, probably. I'm probably going to talk about how you said that.
I literally tell them, I'm like, well, if you don't do anything dumb, I won't talk about you. And then they're just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah. So, and also too, the podcast is not about me, and it's like us exploring a dating topic. And then they're like, oh, okay. But then I have found that like people I've been in long-term relationships with, they end up listening to the podcast in the beginning, feeling very uncomfortable, and then getting off of it. They're like, we felt like we learned more about you that we wanted to know in real life. I'm like, well, you should just ask better questions. I'm like, if you ask more questions, I'll answer it.
Yeah.
So
it is odd.
Get that? You must. I feel like yours would make things more difficult. Like, as in people would be like, oh my God, are you going to tell everybody what we did?
I'll be like, it depends. Also, like, because my guests sometimes now are past partners, so they think like, are you just trying to get like guests for your show? And I'd be like, no,
but if you're open to it,
no. I get that. For me, it's a nervous energy of like, oh, what do I have to explain? Like, which one did you hear? Like, what? If they say that, I'll be like, do you have questions? Let's get this out of the way. Did you hear about the Craigslist thing? Okay, then let's ask your questions. And then they usually always end up with like, so do you get tested? I'll be like, probably more than you. So
yeah.
Can we just like enjoy this whiskey for an hour before I pretend that I have a hair appointment?
Yeah. Do you get offended when people ask you that?
No, because I understand that most of the time it's probably just like attempting to like do humor.
Yeah. Has anyone ever asked to show me your last STD test?
Oh, you mean STDs? I thought you meant about the podcast. The STD stuff. No, I think it's responsible. I'm personally of the stance, which is I guess mildly controversial, of I think if you need to know something, you need to ask that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are laws depending on the state about HIV disclosure. Otherwise, assuming you're using condoms, you are protected from the thing you were.
Yeah.
Even if that person has some sort of STI, like if someone has chlamydia and you're using condoms, guess what? You're probably not getting chlamydia. But if you want to know about a thing, then you should ask. So, the big one for that is herpes. Like people think, well, everyone with herpes should have to disclose. I'll be like, almost 80% of people have some form of herpes. Almost all your partners are lying to you if they're not saying something. So. If you need to know that, you should say, if that's a risk you don't want to take, you should say, hi, like, do you happen to have herpes? Also, when you ask, do you get tested? You're not usually tested for herpes. So, it's just a useless question. So I enjoy someone asking me because it means that they care about their sexual health.
Yeah.
Usually what I'll respond with is, what does that question mean for you?
Yeah.
And then and then they can say, I thought I was just supposed to ask that question. I wasn't expecting a follow-up.
Yeah.
But then they could say like, which ones was I tested for? And then I will tell them, here's what I've been tested for. Here's when, and then move forward from there. I don't like it. This fucked up thing happened to me in LA like a few years ago. It was this like awkward comic chick who picked me up at like a cafe show. We were in some coffee shop for 7 people. Picks me up from there. We make plans for a few nights later. I go to her place. We fool around. I go down on her. We come up, we're making out. I never once asked her to touch my dick. I never once asked her to suck it or do anything. I had fun doing what I just did. I'm having fun making out with her there. And then she, pokes at my penis. And at the time I had like a little polyp on the shaft I'd had for like a decade. It wasn't like a war. It wasn't anything. I asked the doctors.
Yeah.
But she's like, you have a little bumpy on your penis. I'm like, it's not called a bumpy. How about, hi, I feel a little thing. Can you tell me what that is? Mm-hmm. I did that like last weekend. I was like, I noticed that the guy in our threesome had something that maybe looked a little sorry. And I was like, hey, can you tell me a little story about what this is before we're going to cross pollinate a little bit through this woman? But then she said this, she said, I don't want to suck your dick because you have sex with a lot of people. So you probably have an STD. That's not chill.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Especially since I didn't ask her to do
bitch,
it.
you just fucking. Why did you even engage with this in the first place? If that was your background thought.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So the whole stigma stuff, I don't like.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no. If someone asks me, I guess it depends. Why did you ask me if
Yeah.
I've been tested recently?
I have a fun sexual health story.
Oh, do tell.
Where I got kind of shit on by a guy for caring about my sexual health, which was like earlier this year I hooked up with somebody who's actually now famous, which is insane.
Congratulations. Everyone just go check to see which pilots got greenlit. And then we're going to, we could start to narrow it down.
Yeah, you will. No, I'm kidding. But this person and I hooked up and he didn't want to wear a condom, or he did the classic thing that guys do to me, which is, oh my God, I can't get it up with a condom.
Oh, then I guess you're not going to get it up in me.
So I always say, oh, well, like I go dry without one. So, and then they're
That's
like,
such a great line.
and then they're like, oh, okay. And so then he, somehow found a condom, and I was like, "Oh, of course, there it is." And then,
and do you not want to just not fuck the person at that point?
No, I let it go. I'm
You
like,
let-
it's
you let
fine,
that
because
go?
guys have tried that with me so much that I'm like, all right, this is clearly a thing. But I've also, as a girl, had my own scares, and I have learned that this is just not worth it for me.
Of course.
I also personally, I am not able to take birth control. It's like a actual health issue for me. I'm not allowed to. So the only birth control I'm allowed to have is a condom.
Yeah.
And so that is very important for me. I don't need to explain all of that to somebody. So I was just like, whatever. So then this guy somehow finds it. We go the first round. Then he wants to go again. I don't have a condom though. Fuck. And then, so I know when this point hits and I go, oh, well, that's okay, because I have one. And so I go and I get one, which is not like, I very rarely like hook up like that, but I know in case it ever happens, I'm never going to be unprepared.
Yeah.
So, because I've been in those situations.
I've
when I
got
was
as many
younger.
condoms as you have hard-ons.
Yeah.
You test me, buddy.
Yeah. So then I brought it out and he deflated, and then he was like, oh. And so then I asked him, I was like, wait, is that, and again, I kind of said with a smile, I was like, is that weirding you out that like I had a condom? And he was like, no, of course, you're a woman, you're taking lead charge. And I was like, and then of course he couldn't like perform. He like went for like 2 minutes and he's like, I'm so sorry, it's a condom, I'm just sorry. But I knew it was kind of partially in his head judging me. And I was like, really, you're judging me as a grown-ass woman who has had enough sex that don't need any of this shit? But
You
I'm
really
like,
think he's
I have
judging
to,
you?
I'm like, I thought he was judging me.
I think he felt shame for getting caught. Because like the first time he was like, I tried to do that move. Okay, fine. I have one.
Yeah.
And then I think you called his bluff. You're like, it's okay, I got one. And then he was like, I think he felt shame. He's like, oh, now she thinks I just do this.
Maybe. I mean, I did think that. I was like, this is totally what he does.
Yeah.
And so, but I was just like, and he kept apologizing to me on the way out. And he was like, oh, we should do this again. But like, you know what I mean? And I was like, sure. Yeah, of course. And then it didn't happen. But we're still friends. We're friendly. And, but we didn't ever do that again. In my head, I was like, oh, motherfucker was just like judging me for being prepared.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
Fuck that guy. Oh God. Yeah. It's so odd to me. Like I'll hear comics like brag about like raw dogging chicks after shows. I'm like, what are you fucking crazy? Like,
I'm just so paranoid about that in my head, like of what could happen. And two, just like if anybody gets pregnant, I have to deal with it, not you. It's 9 months of my life.
yeah. The only way I'm going to get you to deal with it if I make this like, a tabloid scandal,
Yeah.
which I don't want to do.
No,
Yeah.
not right now. I'll do that 10 years from now when I'm like, broke or some shit.
Yeah,
Then
exactly.
I'll do that, but not right now.
When I've had some women ask to like raw dog or like on the internet, and I instantly like, I don't raw dog, but now I don't even want to fuck you with a condom
Yeah.
because you asked that.
Well, this is what I tell people is like, look, raw dogging obviously feels 100 times better.
Right.
But the way to kind of experience that as long as you know the person is tested and like clean to your liking is lambskin. And like lambskin is amazing.
Really?
And amazing. Like that's
Do
what
tell.
my ex and I used to use because we were living together but I wasn't using birth control. So there came a point that it was like he was doing the pull-out thing. And then we had kind of a scare. And I was like, look, I just really don't want to do this again. And so then, but I was like, look, I heard about lambskin. It's a bit more expensive though. It is more expensive. Like 3 are like $20 or some shit. But it was so worth it. Like he loved it. And it was expensive, but he loved it. And so because the lambskin part, I don't even know if it's real lambskin, but whatever it is, it just still feels warm. Like it's so thin that it keeps out, so it keeps you from being pregnant. It won't keep out STDs though. But it'll keep you from getting pregnant. So that's why I was like, if it's with somebody you trust and you know that they're clean and all that stuff, lambskin is a great option.
What's it? Okay, so what's it? Because I don't have a vagina.
Yeah.
And I also have not been fucked in the ass by like a penis before. So I don't know. What's the feeling difference of a raw cock in you versus a condom?
I think it's just the heat.
Is it really just that?
I think the heat enhances like just the feeling overall. Cause, it's literally that because the latex keeps the heat out. And that's why lambskin feels so much better because it feels like there's a real person in you and there isn't like, there's no blockage from that skin to skin contact. Skin to skin contact, no matter what, is always amazing. And that's what you get.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
But what feels better than sex without a condom is not peeing fire.
Oh,
feels way better. But
yeah.
Oh man. Those tricks, those little like, oh, I don't got one. So funny when you get
oh my
called
God.
out.
I just feel like it's because guys they're always like, no way a guy told you that. I'm like, I could literally, the amount of times guys have told me 2 things. I don't have oh fuck, I can't get it up with a condom. But somehow they do when you bring one out. Yeah. And 2, just 2 minutes. Which is like, just let me raw dog you 2 minutes. And I'm like, 2 minutes and then you're going to stop, right? Because I'm going to be like, hey, pull out. And then
You give them that much credit? It's like, no, because you're going to come in a minute.
No, exactly. I know that. That's why I don't give them credit. But I just love that they always ask the 2 minutes. Like I've had like fucking 40-year-old men be like, just 2 minutes? I'm like,
that's why I'm so shocked that you still fuck them. I'm like so shocked you still give them the pass. Because
I'm just like, man, look, at that point, they're trying to take their shot. And I get it. And some girl out there is going to be like, cool. And I'm just like, hey, here's another option. And then that's it. But do I take those people seriously in real life? No. Because anybody I've actually been in a real relationship with has never done anything like that. They're the first people to be like, here's a condom. They treat it very well. They're very respectful. I just never had to. So those people, like, I'll fuck you, but I'll never want to be in something real with you because I'm like, you know.
Where can people find you?
Oh.
It's like, let's do that first.
Oh, that's real. That's smart. Well, I'm on all the social medias. I am at Natasha Chandel on Instagram, Natasha_Chandel on Twitter, Natasha Chandel Official on Facebook. Or you could go to natashachandel.com or kindadating.com. And find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah. And Natasha, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thanks so much for having me.
And want to say goodbye to everybody.
Oh, guys, thanks for listening. Bye.
Did you enjoy my conversation with Natasha? Did you end the episode kind of wanting some more? Well, then you're in luck because I clipped out the last 10 to 15 minutes of our conversation and I'm putting it up tomorrow exclusively on Patreon for my $5 and up members. In that one, we're going to talk a lot about her dating life, including, how she's single, but not dating, and why that confuses people. We're also going to talk a little bit about cheating and how one dude cheated on her with a grandma. By the way, all of my $5 and up members do get to enjoy access to over 100 bonus episodes of the Man Whore podcast. So if you're one of those crazy people who binged this entire thing and you finally got here to episode 290 and you're like, I need more, there is. Sign up today, become a member at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. It's not just supporting the show, you're paying for access to a whole bunch of awesome, badass bonus content. God, I hate that word. Let me know what you thought about this week's show. Let me know what you're thinking about Sex in the Quad with Sophia the Intern. You can shout me out on the social medias. You can just search Billy Procida. I pop right up. But on Twitter, I'm at the Billy Procida. And on Instagram, I am at Billy is Procida. You can also make a comment and let us know what you think on the Man Whore Podcast Facebook fan page. We'll have an episode comment thread going on over there. Next week, we got a doozy. I'm going to be talking to a man person about the man stuff who does a show called Man Amongst Men. A lot of man things, manly man stuff. Masculine, he-man, boy guy, dude bro things. Yes, I'm chatting with Dominic Quartuccio. It's a good one. Tune in next week. Enjoy it. Happy Halloween. Stay slutty.